They called them miracles. Miracles, miracles. Modern science calls it quantum manifestation. But 2,000 years ago, a master metaphysician hid the exact source code to hack the fabric of reality in plain sight, and almost everyone missed it. If you've been asking but not receiving, it's because you're using an outdated operating system. Today, we are bridging the gap between the red letters of the Bible and the quantum field. This is how you actually move the mountains. For a long time, it felt like science and spirituality were on opposite sides of a fence. One was about cold, hard facts. The other was about heart and soul. But today, that fence is falling down. As we look deeper into the world of quantum physics and neuroscience, we're finding that the law of attraction isn't just a modern trend. It's ancient. If we look closely at the actual words of Jesus, we find more than a moral teacher. We find a master of the mind. He was teaching the mechanics of reality creation long before we had the vocabulary to describe it. By looking at his teachings through the lens of modern science, we can unlock a practical manual for moving the unseen into the seen. So let's start with big idea number one, the physics of spiritual potential. Believe it or not, but proof behind Jesus' teachings begins at the fundamental level of physical reality. The teachings of Jesus frequently reference the power of the unseen to shape the seen. In modern physics, we call this the quantum field. Think of reality like a giant hologram. In a hologram, every tiny fragment contains the information of the entire image. Jesus hinted at this when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." He was suggesting that the generative power of your world is internal and non-local, not external and distant. This brings us to the observer effect. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists found that subatomic particles behave like waves of potential when no one is looking. They exist in multiple places at once. But the moment an observer looks at them, the wave collapses into a single solid particle. This is a physical version of Mark 11:24. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. When you believe you have received, you are acting as the observer. You are forcing the waves of potential in the universe to collapse into the specific reality you want. If you approach life with doubt, you are measuring for uncertainty, and the universe yields exactly that. This is exactly why I'm so big on using a success hypnosis MP3 to reprogram your mind. Jesus said to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And in order for your reality to transform the way you wish it to be, the way God intends for you to live, you first have to renew your mind. Unfortunately for us, modern neuroscience now tells us that 95% of our life is controlled by our subconscious mind. 95% of all your thoughts, 95% of all your moods, your habits, your results, your entire existence, it's all controlled by how your subconscious has been programmed. Research now shows us that 70% of our programming is negative and redundant. So it's super important that you renew your mind and update your subconscious programming. I have a free Success Hypnosis MP3 that you can listen to for a few minutes a day, and it will turn your subconscious into a magnet for attracting the life that God intended you to live. It's free. Just go to jakeshypnosis.com, or you can click the link in the comments or in the description of the video. So be sure to check that out. It's my gift to you. Just please let me know what miracles you attract into your life from using it. Just leave me a comment and tell me about it. So that leads us into big idea number 2, the neuroscience of the gatekeeper. Physics explains how the world responds, but neuroscience explains how your brain filters what you even notice in the first place. And if you miss this, you will spend your whole life praying for a breakthrough that is literally walking past you every day, and you cannot see it. Not because it is not there, because your brain is not letting it in. Now, here is what is wild. Jesus talked about this exact mechanism constantly. He did not use the word neuroscience, obviously, but he described the inner filter, the inner lens, the inner gatekeeper over and over. And once you see it, you realize a lot of what people call faith is actually training attention, perception, and expectation. Training what your mind highlights. Training what your heart believes is possible. Training what you can receive. Let me show you. Right now, in the room you were sitting in, there are probably 100 details you could notice. The feeling of your shirt on your shoulders, the weight of your phone in your hand, the sound of the air conditioning, the smallest hum behind the silence, the shadow on the wall, the pressure in your jaw, the rhythm of your breath. All of that is happening right now, but you are not consciously noticing most of it, because if you had to consciously process every single detail your senses deliver, you would be overwhelmed in seconds. So your brain does something brilliant. It filters reality. And the name of that filter is the reticular activating system, the R.A.S. The reticular activating system is basically your brain's attention gatekeeper. It decides what gets highlighted and what gets ignored. It decides what feels important and what feels irrelevant. It decides what you will notice and what you will walk right past. Now, let me give you an everyday example. Have you ever bought a new car or started thinking about a certain kind of car, and suddenly you see that car everywhere? Before, it was invisible. Now it is all over the road. The car did not suddenly multiply. Your filter changed. That is the R.A.S. Or maybe you learned a new word and then you start hearing it in conversations, podcasts, movies. The word was always around. Your filter was not tuned to it. Then it became relevant and now it pops out. That is the R.A.S. Now listen to this. Your life is not just what happens to you. Your life is what your brain allows you to notice. And this is where Jesus' teaching becomes extremely practical, because when Jesus says, "Seek and you will find, ask and it will be given, knock and the door will be opened," that is not only a promise, it is also a pattern, because seeking activates attention. Seeking activates scanning. Seeking activates your inner search mechanism. When you seek, you start noticing. When you knock, you start moving. When you ask, you start expecting. So your mind begins filtering for the thing you are asking for, and you begin seeing doors you were blind to. Not because God just created them in that moment, but because your mind finally became ready to perceive them. Now here is the key. The R.A.S. does not filter based on what you want. It filters based on what you believe is important. And what does your brain label as important? Whatever connects to survival, whatever connects to emotion, whatever connects to identity. Jesus said it like this: where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That is a focus statement. That is a filter statement. Your treasure is what you value. Your heart is your attention, meaning you will consistently look toward what you value. You will consistently filter toward what you expect, and your life will reflect that. Now, this is where people get stuck, because someone can say, "I want wealth," but their nervous system says money is danger, money creates conflict, money makes people turn on you, money makes you responsible for everyone, money makes you visible, money makes you a target. So even though they want wealth, their system labels wealth as a threat. So their R.A.S. is not scanning for opportunity, it is scanning for risk. And Jesus warned about this too. He talked about people seeing but not perceiving, hearing but not understanding. That is literally a filter problem. It is not that information is not present. It is that the inner gatekeeper is blocking it. Now this brings us to big idea number 3, collapsing the wave and believe you have received. Now this is where the mystical meets the mathematical. Mark 11:24 contains what might be the most misunderstood and most powerful instruction in human history. Jesus says, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you've received it, and it will be yours. Notice the grammar in that Bible verse. He doesn't say, believe you will receive it. He says, believe you have received it. So he is speaking in past tense. He is inviting you to step out of the linear timeline of waiting and into the eternal now of the quantum field. To understand why this works, we have to look at the science of consciousness. Quantum physics tells us that at the subatomic level, matter does not exist in a fixed state. Instead, it exists in a state of superposition. Imagine an infinite menu of every possible version of your life. In one version, you are sick. In another, you are whole. In one, you are struggling. In another, you are thriving. Right now, in this very moment, all these versions exist as waves of probability in the implicate order. They are all equally real, but they are blurred together until an observer chooses one. In physics, this choice is called collapsing the wave function. When you pray from a state of wanting, you are observing a reality where the thing is absent. You are fixing your gaze on the lack, and therefore you collapse the wave into a particle of not enough. But when you follow the protocol of Jesus, when you embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are picking the version of reality where the prayer is already answered, and you are forcing the quantum field to resolve into that solid actuality. Think about the story of the centurion's servant. This is the ultimate quantum miracle. The centurion comes to Jesus and asks for a healing, but he tells Jesus, "What, Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Just speak the word and my servant will be healed." Jesus was amazed. Why? Because the centurion understood non-locality. He understood that the observer does not need to be physically touching the object to collapse the wave. Jesus didn't go to the house. He didn't perform a physical ceremony. He simply entered a state of absolute, unwavering observation. He looked past the probability of death and fixed his mind on the actuality of life. At that exact moment, the wave function collapsed. The centurion's servant was healed, not by a travel of energy from point A to point B, but by a fundamental shift in the holographic fabric of reality. Jesus saw it as done, and the universe had no choice but to reflect it. Next, let's break down my favorite big idea, the observer effect, calibrating the apparatus. In Matthew chapter 9, Jesus says something that sounds like a simple blessing, but it's actually the ultimate law of the universe. According to your faith, let it be done to you. He wasn't just being kind, he was defining the observer effect 2,000 years before the laboratory. In quantum mechanics, the measurement apparatus, the tools the scientist uses, determines what is found. If the scientist measures for a particle, he finds a particle. If he measures for a wave, he finds a wave. You are the apparatus. Your faith is not just a nice thought. It is the measurement parameter you are using to observe the world. If your apparatus is set to fear, you will measure for threats. If it is set to scarcity, you will measure for lack. You are not just seeing the world, you are measuring it into existence. This explains one of the most mysterious and often frustrating verses in the entire Bible. In Matthew 13, Jesus says, "Whoever has to him, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken away from him." To the logical mind, this sounds unfair. To the quantum mind, it is pure physics. This is the difference between the frequency of having and the frequency of wanting. Here's what I mean by the frequency of having. When you say, "I want money so bad," or "I'm so lonely, I need love," your measurement apparatus is set to absence. You are observing the hole where the desire should be. Because you are observing the hole, the quantum field has no choice but to collapse more whole into your life. You are literally using your divine spiritual power to manifest more missing. Now, see if you can spot the difference with the frequency of having. Because this frequency of having is what Jesus meant by the kingdom of heaven is within. When you enter the internal state of having, when you feel the gratitude and the relief before the bank account changes, you are measuring for presence. Because you have it internally, the field responds by giving you more having externally. This is why your prayers sometimes feel like they're hitting a brass ceiling. If you pray harder from a place of desperation, you're just shouting lack louder into the field. You are observing the wave into a particle of poverty. Look at the story of Peter walking on the water. It is a perfect laboratory experiment. As long as Peter's apparatus was fixed on Jesus, the frequency of the impossible and the divine, he collapsed the wave of the water into a solid path. He was in the state of having the power. But the moment he shifted his observation to the wind and the waves, the frequency of fear and physical limitation, his apparatus changed. He began measuring for drowning. And according to his faith, it was done to him. The water uncollapsed beneath his feet. He didn't sink because God got mad. He sank because his observation shifted from the kingdom within to the storm without. And by the way, if you feel like your apparatus is stuck, if you find yourself constantly observing the storm instead of the solution, you need to go to jakeshypnosis.com. Look, you can understand this intellectually, but if your subconscious is still measuring for missing, you will keep sinking. Your conscious mind wants to walk on water, but your nervous system is programmed for the depths. It's free to download and free to use every single day. Just go to jakeshypnosis.com and you can start to shift from wanting to having. Just listen to my free success hypnosis for a few minutes a day, and you're going to see miracles start showing up. Because once you stop focusing on the absence of your prayer and you start having them on a frequency level, it will show up in your life faster than you ever thought possible. So check out jakeshypnosis.com to get it for free. And let's wrap this up with gratitude, thanking the Father before the miracle. Most people treat gratitude like a receipt. We wait until we receive the goods, and then we say, thank you. But in the kingdom of heaven, in the realm of the quantum, gratitude is not a reaction. Gratitude is the request. Think about that. Gratitude is the request. Gratitude is the prayer. Jesus didn't just teach this, he modeled it as his primary operating protocol. Before he performed his most staggering miracles, he didn't beg and he didn't negotiate. He started with thanksgiving. He literally thanked God for the miracle before they ever happened. Look at the story of the raising of Lazarus. Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. This situation was, by every human standard, impossible. But look at what Jesus does when he stands before the tomb. Before he calls Lazarus out, he looks up and says, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me." He didn't wait for Lazarus to walk out to say thank you. He gave thanks while the stone was still in place. He gave thanks while the absence was still staring him in the face. This is where neuroscience confirms the master. Your brain is an incredible organ, but it has one specific glitch that we can use to our advantage. It does not know the difference between a real-life experience and one that is vividly imagined with high emotion. When you enter a state of deep gratitude for a miracle that hasn't happened yet, when you say thank you, Father, with the same intensity you would if the check were in your hand or the report was clean, your brain's motor cortex and amygdala fire as if it is happening right now. You are literally bypassing the evidence of the senses and hardwiring the evidence of the faith. You are teaching your body to feel like a winner before the race has even started. In the quantum field, gratitude is the ultimate signature. If wanting is the signal of lack, then gratitude is the signal of completion. When you give thanks before the event occurs, you are sending a frequency into the field that says it is finished. You are no longer asking for a collapse of the wave. You are acknowledging that the collapse has already occurred in the implicate order. This is what Paul meant in Philippians 4:6 when he said, "With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." He didn't say pray, then get the stuff, then give thanks. He said the thank you is part of the request. It is the signature that makes the prayer legible to the universe. Think about the feeding of the 5,000. Jesus has 5 loaves and 2 small fish. He is facing a massive lack. But the Bible says he took the bread, he looked up to heaven, and he gave thanks. He thanked the Father for the abundance while the basket was still nearly empty. He didn't wait for the multiplication to happen to feel the gratitude. He used the gratitude to trigger the multiplication. According to the law of the kingdom, the thanksgiving expanded the seed into a harvest. This is the greater work Jesus called us to. If you are facing a mountain today, whether it's financial, physical, or emotional, stop asking God to do something. Instead, follow the Jesus protocol. Enter your secret place, close your eyes, and vividly imagine the version of you that is already on the other side of the problem. Feel the relief, feel the joy, and then speak it out. Father, I thank you that you have heard me. When you do this, you are no longer a beggar in the court of the divine. You are a co-creator, using the most powerful frequency in existence to anchor the kingdom of heaven into the world of form. And by the way, if your nervous system is so used to survival mode that you can't even find the feeling of gratitude, if your fight or flight response is blocking your heart-brain coherence, you need to visit jakeshypnosis.com. Look, it's hard to give thanks when your body is screaming danger. At jakeshypnosis.com, we help you quiet that survival brain. We use specific alpha and theta protocols to lower the resistance of the nervous system. making it easy to install the frequency of gratitude directly into your subconscious soil. We help you move from stress to blessed on a cellular level so that your thank you becomes a powerful mountain-moving signal. If you're ready to master the frequency of the answer, head over to jakeshypnosis.com. Remember, the most powerful prayer in the world is just 2 words. Thank you. Don't wait for the miracle to be grateful. Use your gratitude to mandate the miracle. Because when you thank the Father for what is unseen, the universe has no choice but to make it seen.